Okay, so we're coming to you live from New York City. As you may know, we've been doing the 4-day video boot camp, and today is day 4. And I've been downstairs in the media room with the group, and then Brett said to me, "You promised you would do a live today when you did a live yesterday." And I said, "Well, after I'll do one tomorrow." He said, "No, you have to go upstairs and do one today." So I came upstairs. It's a beautiful day outside of Manhattan. As you can see, I get out of the way. This is not a set. This is actually looking out of my living room window, which is not a bad view. But I said that I would do a live today, and I'll do a live today, although the live today is really a promotional for a live tomorrow. As you may know, my last real job in television, the last one where I actually got a paycheck and got paid, was nearly 30 years ago when I was a producer at CBS Sunday Morning, which is still on the air and still looks exactly the same. And after working very hard at Channel 13, starting as a production assistant and becoming a producer, and then working there for 5 years producing these little documentaries, I got, thanks to Ted Savaglio. Ted, if you're watching, I really appreciate it. Ted was then a vice president of CBS News, and he got me an interview with Sunday Morning, with the executive producer of Sunday Morning, and they hired me, remarkably. It was quite a leap to go from local public television in Newark, New Jersey, to suddenly the flagship show for what was then the #1 network in the news business and their #1 show, Sunday Morning. So I was just incredibly excited to get this opportunity, and I was in my late 20s, and I was making probably $100,000 a year as a kid in 1986, 87, and I thought, "Whew, I got it made." And 2 years later, I quit. Now, tomorrow, I'm going to tell you the whole story of why I quit and what I did when I quit, and it's a pretty good story, but I'll give you one little anecdote today which led me to quitting, and should lead anybody to quitting, but it's an insight into how network television actually works. So, as a producer, you do all the work, and these very high-paid correspondents that you see their faces on television, they just show up at the last minute and they get shot into the piece. Of course, I didn't know that then. I actually thought they were real reporters who actually went and did all the work. But no, it was the producer that does all the work, and then it's the correspondent that gets all the credit and all the money. I mean, maybe I was making $100,000. These guys were making millions for essentially showing up and stealing my work, which I found annoying no end. I'll give you lots of details and names and stuff on this, but I'll tell you one little story now, because I don't want to spend all day here and waste your time. But tomorrow at 12:30, Brett, you get that? Now I got a real time. Tomorrow at 12:30, I'm going to tell you a much better story. But here's a quick little anecdote which will give you some insight into how these Megyn Kelly and all this crap, how this stuff really works. These people are not journalists, they're not reporters, they are actors. Anyway, so I was a producer there, and the job of the producer is to find the story, go out and do the story, do the reporting, take the camera crew, shoot the stuff, write the script, and at the last minute these people pop in and they read the stuff you gave them, or they read the script, and they get shot into the piece, and then when you see it on air you go, "Holy smokes, that guy Mike Wallace must have been there for months making that thing work." Don't be ridiculous. The producer that made it work. These guys just show up at the last minute. Anyway, so when I was very early in my career and still full of enthusiasm, I thought, now I'm going to be a great CBS journalist like my mentor, Fred Friendly, and all this kind of stuff. So I was with CBS, and at Sunday Morning they gave me this assignment to go to Buffalo, New York, and do some story about education and a school strike and stuff. Great. So I was all ready to go, and the reporter I was going to work with was a guy named Bob Pierpoint. He's a very nice guy. He'd been the White House correspondent for years, but, you know, he'd been around forever. So he didn't know me, and I didn't know him, so I was very nervous because he was a White House correspondent. So I called him. I go, "Oh, Mr. Pierpoint, this is Michael Rosenbaum. I'm your producer at Sunday Morning, and we have this story lined up, and we're going to go." I had lined the whole thing up already, you know, and he got on the phone with me, and he says, "Buffalo, New York." He said, "Let me tell you something, pal. Bob Pierpoint does not go to Buffalo in January." I said, "You don't? Well, I have the store. What are we going to do?" He said, "Here's what you're going to do. You're going to book me for a week into the Coral Gables Golf and Tennis Club. You're going to book me in there to a big room, and then you're going to find an education story in Florida, in Miami. You got it? And call me when you got that done, and let me know what dates I'm going down to Florida. And he hung up the phone. I thought, oh, my God. What am I supposed to do now? So I went to the executive producer and I said, here's what happened. The executive producer said, well, you better get on the phone with Miami and find what he's looking for. And by the way, book me. He loves that hotel. He goes there all the time. So I did. I booked him into the Coral Gables Golf and Tennis Club for a week. He disappeared. I don't know where he went. I found some stupid story in Coral Gables about school. I mean, there's stories everywhere about schools. I went and shot the whole thing. Then I went and knocked on the door at the Coral Gables Golf and Tennis Club. I said, excuse me, Mr. Pierpoint, we're ready. We're ready for your close-up. So he came in. He shot him into the piece. He went home, and the thing aired. And that was my introduction to working with big stars in network television news. It took me 2 years to quit, but you could see why, because it's all a pile of crap. Anyway, 12:30 tomorrow, I'm going to tell you a much better story, but I hope you like this one. Brett, how was that? Talk to you later. And by the way, it's a beautiful day outside. See ya.